You're listening to
and such a short amount of time to do it in. We were really
a Mamamia podcast.
Phone's on silent, yeah?
Gosh, it's been so many stops and starts with us, hasn't it?
I know, I'm so sorry.
No, I think it's me. I feel like it's been my fault many times and we're eventually here.
We're here. I know, it's a long time coming.
We made it. I love a love story, especially when it starts with one woman sliding into another woman's DMs when she's drunk because she was scrolling through Instagram after a big night and thought, wow, she's hot. From Mamamia, you're listening to No Filter, a podcast where people from all walks of life tell their stories very candidly and aren't afraid to be vulnerable. My name is Mia Friedman. Fiona Falkiner is a model. She was a contestant and then a host on The Biggest Loser, and Hayley Willis was a sports reporter at Channel 9. I'm going to let them tell their love story. It's a good one. But strap in because there's an important and unexpected detour that ends up with Fiona breaking down in tears. And when you hear what she's talking about, you'll understand exactly why she felt so distressed. But mostly, with these two, I kind of felt like an intruder in the studio. Their chemistry is big, their love is big, and their family is growing. Here's Hayley, Fiona, and me, sitting between two women who are madly, passionately in love. Fiona, I want to start with you. The day that you met Hayley, where were you at in your life?
Technically, I didn't meet her in person straight away. She slid into my DMs. Such a cliche these days. And I was at a place in my life where I'd gone overseas for a few jobs and I'd been sort of dating but not found anyone particularly remarkable that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. And I'd actually made a decision a few months prior that I was going to start pursuing having a baby on my own. So
how old were you?
When was
37, I think.
37, yeah. And like had, told my parents via Zoom and stuff, and my dad was like, what? And walked off camera because he didn't really support the decision. Yeah, so I kind of had that in my mind and I had some work overseas, so I was over there and then on my way back I had a shoot in Canada and I lost my passport. I was there for a week with not a lot to do and Hayley slid into my DMs. And I remember saying to my friend, this chick looks like really like nice and normal and, she wants to take me for a drink. And my friend's like, yeah, go for it. And so I kind of responded and said, sure, when I get back to Sydney, let's go for a drink. And when we did meet, I think I was just kind of getting back into work to modelling in Australia because that last trip for me overseas was pretty much me going, okay, I'm now back in Australia. I'm committing to sort of being back here full time because I was kind of doing like 6 months in London and I mean, occasionally I'll go and just do a few weeks in Germany for a client, but probably not now that I've got a child. But
have you always modelled?
No, I fell into modelling after Biggest Loser. It's something, if you had asked me when I was a young girl, teenager, even post Biggest Loser, that I was going to be a model predominantly throughout my life, I would have laughed. Like it's never, ever been on my radar.
Why not? You're tall, you're beautiful.
I guess from a self-esteem perspective, it's never been something that I thought would be possible, especially coming from, my generation where plus-size models sort of existed but didn't really exist. Like it wasn't really a thing. There were just like, a few token girls that were added in parades and things like that. And
you definitely couldn't make a living from it.
No. And it wasn't even around me. I didn't know it was a possibility until I kind of was on the show Biggest Loser with a plus-size model, Tracy, who was an older lady, but she was a plus-size model and her agent lived over the back fence of the Biggest Loser house. And she was like, when you come off the show, I'm going to sign you up. And I was like, oh, gosh, okay, sure. No worries.
How did you get onto the Biggest Loser? How did you find yourself there?
I got on the show in 2006 and last year of uni, I was in a share house in Melbourne with friends, just living the party. Like for me, uni years were just party fun, as you do, drinking, having loads of fun. But I'd always, particularly during that time, had battled with my weight and I was obsessed with the American series of The Biggest Loser. Obsessed.
Obsessed why? Because of the transformation idea?
The transformations and this whole concept that you got taken out of your life and put in a space where you were, I presume, taught how to eat well and trained every day, and then you just came out this whole new person. And in my head at that point in time, all the things going on in my life, I blamed on my weight, which evidently when I came off the show I realised had nothing to do with my weight. It was all what was going on in here. Yeah, so I got on the show and I once again was so surprised. You apply for these things and you never dream that you would get on. And it's funny, in this day and age, reality TV, people just presume you go on there for fame, which back in the day, mine was first series. Reality TV wasn't
you were in the first series.
It wasn't a thing. Like there'd been Big Brother, I think, was the only show, and that was just like, what is this? Like reality TV, it's crazy. And
it was pre-social media.
Pre-social media.
Pre-influencers.
All of that. So it's like my sole motivating factor was if I got on this show, and this was also because I always had so much self-doubt, even if I went on the show and I got voted out first, I would still have lost some weight because I've always just battled so hard to lose weight. And then, I got on the show, which I was like, wow. And I don't think I'd ever properly processed, but I remember they flew me to Sydney just prior to the show starting because I was from country Victoria. I grew up in a very small town, 600 people on like a small property, quite a sheltered life. Then went to Melbourne to uni and had like a lot of fun, but still pretty sheltered really. And then they sent me to Sydney on my own, put me up in a hotel, and they're like, now don't talk to the other contestants. So I was trying to be really good and not talk to the other contestant, but you could clearly see who the other contestants were wandering around the hotel. And I remember walking around Sydney listening to Somewhere Over the Rainbow in my iPod headphones, just being like, this is the point. My life is about to change for the better. Like, this is it. This is where I change everything. And then I got on the show and it probably wasn't so much what I expected. It does exactly what it claims to do. You go on there and you train really hard and you're given calorie books and everyone's losing weight, and I was losing weight, but probably not as much as everyone else because I think I was one of the lightest on the show and the tallest. So my percentages weren't great to lose the weight. But in my head, I was like, I need to stay here as long as possible. And I realised at that point it's a bit of a game, and there was opportunities that were put in front of you to get immunity. And I was like, I am just going to take every chance of getting immunity. And I did things on the show that I think no one had ever done before. Well, it was obviously the first series, but I did things like I water loaded. If I won immunity, I would
What does that mean?
I'd drink loads of water before the weigh-in. So then at the weigh-in, it would look like I'd gained weight. But because I had immunity, I couldn't be voted out. But then the next week,
it would seem like you'd lost a lot more than you had.
So I would lose like an extra couple of kilos.
So it's like gamifying weight loss.
Yes. And the producers were horrified that I was doing this. Like, I was playing the game and I was gaining weight at the weigh-in, and they were trying to talk all the contestants into voting me out in the voting rooms. And they were all like, oh, even if Fee gets to the end, she's not going to be a threat. So I kind of didn't really get voted out. But yeah, it was one of those moments where I'm like, do I want to gain weight on national TV? But I was like, I want to be here. I want to keep going. I want to be in this environment where I can actually do this. So I did it and got through to the end, and I was in the final four.
I don't know if you've heard our podcast Cancelled that Jessie and Claire Stevens did on The Biggest Loser. They did an episode on The Biggest Loser.
No, I haven't seen
and about when you look back at it now, you think, oh my God, that was messed up what they did, and the fat shaming and the humiliation and the unethical, like losing that much weight in a short period of time.
Yeah.
Looking back, does it feel unethical? Does it feel like something you regret being part of, or at that time, no?
No. Like, I think that's been the one thing for me my entire life. A lot of contestants have turned around and been like, my time on the show, we received no support after the show. I'm really messed up from it. After the show, I did get messed up. But the thing is, I knew what I was getting myself in for. Like, I signed up.
What kind of messed up though?
Well, I suffered really bad depression and things like that post the show. Like, and I sort of spiraled and regained all the weight, and, loads of stuff happened, which most contestants do, regain the weight post the show. But the thing is, like, I knew it was a TV show.
Right.
And
so you went in with your eyes open.
Yeah, I knew that from word dot. And when I actually came around and hosted the show, one of the series, the last series, they tried to make it a lot more holistic. And the executive producer said to me, I don't want to put the contestants in any position that I wouldn't be comfortable being in. And in my head, I was like, oh, that's really nice of you to make a show like this. But I was like, no one's going to watch it. People want to see, they want to see
terrible pain.
Well, but it's true.
It's
like,
true.
It's
It
true.
is
And the
true.
show didn't rate well at all. It got bumped to,
Because it's not very engaging television to say, let's watch some people lose weight and bring their blood pressure down over 18 months.
Yeah. And like be really friendly
moderate
to each
exercise.
other and like watch them like cook healthy meals.
Yeah.
And
Hayley, bold move dropping into Fee's DMs.
It was.
Where were you at in your life at that time?
I'd come out of a pretty toxic relationship, and I decided after that I wanted to spend the next sort of 12 months just really peeling back everything, really, finding who I am and finding what it is that I'm after. And it was a trip to Newcastle. I was with some friends. We had gone out and had a few beers.
you were drunk.
Yep.
Yeah, basically. Dutch courage, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought, how romantic. She's like, I was
I was
very
smashed.
drunk. Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty smashed. I just remember coming home to my friend's place, laying on the couch, had my dog next to me, and Fee popped up on where the Explore page is, and
Because you weren't following her.
I wasn't at the time. No, I had no idea who she was, but in that moment I was like, she's stunning. It was very, it seems silly, but I was like, she's hot. I'm going to slide into her DMs and ask her if I can take her out for a drink
Why
sometime.
wouldn't you? Have you always dated women?
No, I've had relationships with men too. Yeah. I mean, mostly before the age of 18, and then I came out, I guess, as gay. But in saying that, throughout my dating of women, I've bounced back and forth. So I'm very much about the person.
So what made you think that she would be receptive to a DM or beers?
I don't know. There was just...
Was there any indication to you that I had dated? Because I had dated.
You had? I was going to say, had you dated women
Yeah, I dated one woman prior to Hayley.
for a long time?
We were together, I think it was like a year and a bit.
Publicly?
We did come out. Well, we got outed publicly. Yeah.
I think I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Was that a big deal and was that an unpleasant experience?
Look, I met her on a trip. I went to South America 6 weeks with mates, and she was there on the trip. And you're climbing Machu Picchu and camping, and we were sharing a tent. And
What else is there to do?
But
It's cold at night.
Yeah, but it was this crazy thing where I was so pared back. It was me, raw, smelly, dirty, no makeup, no nothing, and I just had this connection with someone that just felt like they really saw me, and it felt so good. And like I said before, at that point was living this life where the big choices in my life were, does this make me happy? And before we came home, like we started spending every day together, and it felt really good. And I went and had like a moment on my own. I was like, if we go back to Australia and this continues, it's going to end up at some point. It was when I was being papped quite a bit, not now, thank God, but back in the day. And I was like, I don't know if this is a long-term thing, and it's so scary. But then I thought to myself, this feels so good, and I'm going to continue this. So we got back to Australia, and I think as lesbians do, you just don't spend a night apart. We pretty much moved in straight away. And for 4 months we dated, and I came out, I told my family, and they were really supportive, which was amazing. I've been so lucky in that sense. But I think we were at the supermarket carrying a chicken. I think I was carrying a chicken and holding hands, and someone photographed us. And
That must have felt
and that was
really
it.
intrusive.
yeah, look, there's been so many moments of my life that have been papped. And
Tell me about the experience of being papped and what that's like. We have a policy at Mamamia where we don't ever participate in the paparazzi economy because most people just look at a photo. They don't know
Behind
what
it.
goes on behind it, and we believe that it's bad for women and
Yeah.
girls. So we don't participate in it and never publish those photos. But what's it like being followed by the paparazzi?
It's scary. I remember when it first happened, it was probably really started happening when I was hosting the show. I don't know, I was hosting a TV show and I was, single and, going to events. So it was all like they love, picking someone, and I guess I was dating as well. And so I, would come out of a restaurant after a date and there'd be photographers there, which everyone's like, what's wrong with it? Like even being with Hayley, like She's like, what's wrong? Like, why? I just find it so incredibly intrusive that someone's there taking my photo and it's my private time. And I've been photographed so many times at the beach when I have been trying to just have a nice day on my own or with friends, and they just hone in and photograph you from every angle, and then it's splashed. Like, we actually went to Byron Bay when we were looking at wedding venues, and it was like a Wednesday morning or something, and we were flying out that night, and I was like, let's go to the beach. And stupidly, like, I knew, we went to Watergoes, yeah. But there was no one there. Like, it was so quiet.
I think it was like almost the middle of winter.
It was like winter,
but
it was just a beautiful day. And I do underwear modelling, so tan lines are a massive issue for me. Like, it's a thing. So I was like, there's no one around. Do you think it's okay if I just like whip my top off? Which is stupid in hindsight. But the thing is, I do sunbake topless, but I don't expect that there is going to be some creep with a camera taking my photo.
And must have been a super long lens because we were way out. Like, so just the fact that somebody's sitting there.
And we got to the airport that night, and Hayley looked at me and was like, oh, babe.
I think the colour had faded. I was just like,
like, what? And you just said, oh, no. And I knew, and I literally.
She cried the whole flight. The whole flight from, I mean, it's an hour flight. She sobbed the whole way home. And I didn't even know.
It's so intrusive. Like, no one knows what it feels like to have, like, how can it be legal for someone to do that to someone when, if we're at Bondi Beach and there was a man taking photos of topless women, he could be arrested. Yeah. But it's not illegal for someone to take photos and then publish them for everyone to see.
Yeah.
It actually just really, every single time it happens, it shakes me to my core. I just hate it so much. Sorry.
I'm so sorry that you have to go through that. And it's disgusting.
It is.
It even happened when, and this sounds ridiculous, and people are like, oh, you pay the paps. I'm like, or you tip them off. I don't. I was on an island on a Spanish island in Europe on holiday with my friend, and she and I went and walked out in the water topless, and I got papped walking through the water topless, and they got published. Like, I'm just like, how does that even happen?
Yeah.
The beach was packed. Like, I'm on an island in the middle of nowhere. Like, it blows my mind that
I ended up speaking to who I think took the photos.
Yeah, Hayley rang them.
Because I was just...
It took me days to recover.
She just would not...
I was in bed for days crying.
So through a friend, I said, I was like, I think you might know who this is. If this is the case, can you at least try and investigate who might have taken these photos? And it wasn't like I was going to report them to the police. I actually just wanted to have a genuine conversation to say,
do you know
how this affects someone? Yeah. And I ended up getting a hold of this person who from the outset denied it, but I would honestly bet my life on it that was the person who took the photo.
And then they actually came at me on my social media and were like, how dare you call me and accuse me? And I was like, oh my God.
But I actually, at not one point did I accuse him. I said, look, I know your job is you're a paparazzi, and whether or not you took the photos of Fiona, I don't know. I'm fairly certain, but I don't know. And I just need you to understand for future reference that the impact this has on someone and their mental health is... I can't even put it into the words. I said, if it was you, I just need to know that my fiancé cried the entire way home after seeing those photos and has not been able to come out of her room for 3 days in fear that she's going to be papped again. So going forward, I hope that you perhaps reflect on this conversation. And he was like, are you accusing me of doing it? I was like, no, I'm not accusing you of doing it by any stretch. I'm actually just trying to have a conversation because I know that's your job.
As a human to another human.
Exactly. And I was like, I know that's your job. I understand that your job is to take photos of people, but there's a line. And if you're going to take photos of someone at a beach, if they're topless, and zooming in on cellulite and just...
Like I bent over. I was wearing short shorts. I bent over.
Which, by the way, took her, like, for Fee to wear short shorts, like, it was a lot.
I was like, I don't care anymore. I'm fine. But you don't expect to have someone zoom in. I'm like, yeah, I've got cellulite. I'm okay with it. But then for someone to zoom in on that and take photos close up of your back of your legs and your bottom and then publish them.
Yeah.
While you're bent over as well, like
yeah.
picking something off of the ground. I'm like, come on.
With the express purpose of humiliating
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Solely to humiliate
and
me
shame
and
you, trying to
pick
shame
the
you.
worst photos.
Yeah.
It is just – and then the roll-on effect is I get anxiety around going out in public because I am so terrified of getting papped. Like I spent a lot of time if I was going out to events and things like that, to be comfortable there, I'd have to drink because I'd be so nervous that someone was taking my photos. So to get rid of that feeling, I was like,
And so people would say, but you're a model. That's what you do for a job.
Yeah, I know. I know, but it's completely different. When I go to work, I go and I'm fully in control of the situation. I'm in control of the camera and the person and who's taking it, and I know the situation. You know, and even if you go to an event as well, I'm okay with if you go to an event.
Because you're ready.
You're ready.
You know.
You go on the red carpet, you pose, and I'm like, okay, you got your shots, done. But it's just someone invade your personal moments, you know, family moments, dates. I've been chased by a paparazzi. I've literally nearly had a car accident because there was a pap that was camped outside my house and I knew it was them and I was trying to escape and they started following me. And I, you know, veered into like a one-way street trying to like, it's people will be like, it's so silly, but it's the feeling, like Hayley didn't understand how it makes me feel, I think, until you saw how.
Until I saw it, yeah.
Yeah. Like
until I saw how it affects you. I mean, that date was
like,
pretty awful.
I'm actually like a really, I don't know, I'm just not a really overtly out there person. I like my personal life. I like my home life. I like things to be.
As should be your right.
Yeah.
As a woman. And I think any media organisation that publishes and purchases paparazzi photos contributes to the suffering of women and the stalking of women.
People click on it and that's why they keep
That's
doing
what we've got to try not to do. It's tempting, but we've got to try not to. That's why I wanted people to hear the story of what it's like on the other side of the camera. But that day that you were outed, which is a whole other issue, you were outed with those photos in the supermarket.
Yeah.
What did you do and what were you worried about? I mean, apart from the breach of privacy and this wasn't in your control, what were you fearful of?
I guess the fact that it was something so new to me and, you know.
Was it your first relationship with a woman?
Yeah. And like once again, it's just no one's business. And I was trying to figure out who I was at that time and to have it just kind of laid bare and then people's judgments. But that said, I've just cried, but I try and have quite a tough shell and not read into all that and just focus on, like I said, what makes me happy. And my relationship behind closed doors at that point was happy, and I lived in my happy bubble and I was so incredibly happy, and that's all that mattered at the end.
Did you feel a lot of pressure to define yourself and what you were?
Yeah.
Like were people like, I've spoken to Glennon Doyle about this, and when she got together with her now wife, Abby Wambach, she's like, everyone's like, are you a lesbian?
Yeah.
Are you a this? Are you, what are you?
Yeah.
Are you bisexual?
There was all these labels. At the point when the PAP photos came out, my agent was like, okay, you're going to have to address this. And one of my friends was a writer, just a freelance writer for, I think, Cosmo Mag. And I rang her and I was like, okay, I'm not talking to any other media outlet. I don't want this to be a media circus. It is what it is. So I will talk to you about it and one interview about this, and that is it. And so I did that with her, and obviously everyone else kind of took it from there. But I was like, this is not worthy of a media circus. I've fallen in love with a woman. So what? Like, what's the big deal? And
did you go on to date other women after that?
I had flings, with women.
In denial flings, I would say.
Yeah, in denial. At the time, I was like, am I? I was like, no, I'm not sure. Yeah. So yeah, like people are like, what are you? I don't know what the term is. I fall in love with a person. I fall in love with looking into someone's eyes and how they make me feel and how I feel about them and the time we spend together. And if they ignite that feeling of incredible happiness in me, like that's my person. And it doesn't matter about the gender at all.
Hayley, some people find labels useful, other people feel confined by them. What's your relationship been with your sort of sexual identity?
I've almost come to accept that society they put you in a box and I'm tired of having to say, I don't want to be in that box. I'm more focused on people just becoming comfortable with the fact that people will love who they love. And, you know, people would call me lesbian, some people call me bi, some people, you know, there's all the kinds of labels that you can be called. But for me, I was just happy for people to know that I'm out, and I pick my battles. You know, I just want the world to be accepting of who I am, who I love. And then, of course, when someone says, are you lesbian? Are you bi? What's, you know, and I'll be like, no, you know, I'm just someone who loves people. Gender doesn't matter for me at all. I've just fallen in love with that person. It's the same sort of thing as Fee.
We basically are hoping to one day that, you know, if Hunter, our son, comes home with someone, he doesn't even have to come out. Like, the aim is people don't have to come out. You can just come home, boy, girl, whoever. And people are like, oh, great, you know. Like, coming out, I don't think should, you know, hopefully one day that's eradicated and it's just normalised that you can love whoever you want to love, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
I'm Mia Friedman, and you're listening to No Filter with Fiona Falkiner and Hayley Willis. You guys are from slightly, not different generations, but with the age gap, I think probably what it meant for you, Fee, is slightly different to what it has meant for you, because I know when I was growing up, and you're younger than me, but it did feel like a fork in the road. Like, you had to choose. And if you ever kissed a girl, well, then you were a lesbian, and that was what you were and what you had to be forever after.
Yeah.
And there weren't this idea of sexual fluidity and bisexuality and pansexuality didn't exist. Yeah. So it was much more limiting, and it was really stigmatised.
Yeah. Well, growing up, there were, you know, small country town, I did not know anyone, any gay people where I grew up. There was no one. And it's only been later in life, people I can see on social media, that a few of the people I was at school with.
That you did know people.
Yeah, well, I did, and they didn't come out till much later on, you know, even after university and stuff. A lot of people, like during uni, a lot of people didn't come out. And it's funny, like, it was always something, I guess, that was in me, but I didn't actually know fully what those feelings were until I was, I guess, comfortable enough to kind of openly explore them. So I just kind of just shut them down, because I was like, don't know what that is. Just let's not even open that box. And it just meant, I guess, for majority of my life, I never had a true connection with anyone. Yeah.
And you know, for you, Hayley, you just saw a beautiful woman on your Explore page.
I know, it sounds
I'm going to have a crack.
It's almost, it sounds terrible, but that's essentially what it was. I thought she's stunning.
Is that something you did often?
You know what?
Nickname used to be
You
Predator.
can just quietly say it in this room. No one will know.
Wasn't that your nickname?
Was it
Predator?
Oh,
the
come
Predator.
off it. I was not. That was a completely different scenario. That was not why I was known as a predator. That was a work joke.
I hope so.
No.
I mean, I hope not. Was it a numbers game? Did you just go, I'm going to slide into 10 DMs?
At least one of them will reply. No. Yeah, and then I had to turn down 10 others. No, I'm kidding. No, it was actually, it was something that I never did. And I think it was, I don't know, I have to say, it was probably liquid courage. Like, I was at a point in my life where I was really happy. Yeah. I was, you know, I'd come through a really toxic relationship, and I was just enjoying life. And I guess in that moment I was like, stuff it. What's it going to do? Like, what's the worst that can happen? She can say no, and I'll never hear from her again. But to be quite honest, I completely forgot about it. And the next morning woke up, went for a swim at the beach. And then I think it was around midday that I had a response from Fee. And I said to my friend, I'm like, who is this? Like... And so I'm like, who's this?
Why is this hot girl in my DMs?
I know.
Who is she?
And I was like, what? Who? And then I looked and I was like, geez, I've done all right here. Like, I was pretty, I have to say, I said to my friend, I'm like, you will not believe this. I have I've said hello to this absolute 10, and she said hello back. And so I was like, great. What do I do from here? And we ended up talking back and forth.
Yeah.
Fee, mind you, is the worst person on text. Like, I was like, how's your day? She's like, good.
Oh,
That like so it was
Fee.
hard.
way to
work.
flirt.
I know, hard work. Seriously hard work.
No, but we had I did have a whole week in Canada where I was stuck with nothing to do. So it was during that period we did. For me, it was texting quite a bit.
Oh, when you say quite a bit, she responded maybe 4 or 5 times. Like
That for me was a lot.
So between the beers and the boredom, here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, it's actually a miracle we're here because honestly, there were certain times where I was going, this is just far too hard. Like,
When I got back
can't.
to Australia, I got really busy. Like it was, I think I was up in Noosa doing a triathlon and then it was the racing. It was like this, it was around this time because I was down in Melbourne for the racing carnival and then, and you were like, so are we going to catch up? And I was just like, yeah, look, I'm really busy. Want to go back to Sydney.
Yeah.
And like probably for 2 weeks, like didn't really
Just
respond.
palm me off.
And then finally you were like, and I got back to Sydney and I was like 100%, like I do want to catch up. I'm sorry, I've just been really busy and we
I mean,
went on.
you make it sound like I was pestering you. I definitely wasn't. I was just like, I just want to know if I'm sort of like, I was like, do you want to go for this drink?
No,
You're
and I
like,
did.
You did,
I was like
yeah.
100%. I'm keen. I just when I get busy, I'm not very good at multitask. Like I'm just like a bit of an all or nothing gal. So
Fee, how is a first date with a woman different to a first date with a guy?
completely different. A first date with a woman is. I don't know. There's for me, much more of a connection. I'm much more relaxed. I've always just felt like I can just be myself. I don't know. And be a lot more open. I guess when you date men, there's always, from my perspective anyway, there was always some worry that I would say something wrong or make them think that I'm too needy or planning our future or something crazy like that. Whereas women, we love it because we want to feel we're wanted and that we're on the same page with these things and it's okay. There's no taboos. Like I think I said I love you after about a week.
Yep, she did. And to be fair, you had been drinking, but I was sort of just went.
I mean, that goes hand in hand.
I know. I was just like, okay.
What did you say? You said, okay. That's nice.
I was like, I wasn't sure. It was because I knew that she'd had a fair bit to drink. I was like, does she mean it? Like,
It kind of slipped out, but it was like I did mean it, but because it was just like it was just. We were just,
everything
amazing.
was just I mean, we were just in this incredible love bubble.
Not that we're not now, obviously.
Oh, no, yeah, obviously.
How soon did you sleep together?
First night.
First night.
which once again, I didn't do with men.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Is it different? There's
Yeah.
the sense of, I don't know. You tell me why it feels different.
I had a 5 day. If it was a guy I wanted to date,
Yeah.
like I saw a potential there, I'd wait at least 5 dates. If it was someone that
5 dates or 5 days?
5 dates.
And I feel like that's because we have this, and it feels unfair to say it to, broadly, but we have this or I personally have this unfair assumption that there's guys are just in it for that. So, that, I feel like that was potential.
Don't get me wrong, there was one night stand. Like I used to back in the day go out and have one night stands, but if there was someone I liked and I was like, potentially that might lead somewhere, I'd wait 5 dates.
But we didn't.
No, we did not.
And there's the joke about what does a lesbian bring to a second date? A moving truck.
It's so
The
true.
U-Haul.
Yeah, the U-Haul.
Yeah. It is, in my
Yeah.
experience, it's a fairly true assumption. Yeah.
We did get on our first date. We're at Palmer & Co. and I went to the toilet and I came back and there was 2 guys chatting to Hayley. And Hayley is so friendly, like one of the friendliest gals you're ever going to meet, up for a chat with anyone. I'm a little bit more guarded, obviously, I've said before. So I got back and she was like chatting and I could tell the guys were like flirting. And then I got back and they were like, hey, 2 girls. And I was like, guys, thanks. I actually said, we're on a date. I was like, okay.
And that was a
Off
mistake.
you go.
I was gonna say,
I was like,
what
bye.
happened then?
Oh, then they were like, what? Date? And they just started harassing us. And I was
you
like,
guys are so hot together. This
like, are you going to kiss? Like, oh. And I was like, are
Jesus.
you kidding me? I said to Hayley, I mean, for better or for worse, I was like, do you want to get out of here? Do you want to come back to my place?
Then now that I look back, I'm like, she set that up.
I was going to say, did you pay those guys while you were in the bathroom? Hey.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was
Yeah.
just
that's
like,
revolting.
yeah.
I mean, even if you weren't on a date, that would be revolting.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
The idea that 2 women
And
are just an
unfortunately-
invitation.
Unfortunately, it's like, if you do go on dates or if you're out in public, there are certain areas of Sydney where you feel more comfortable holding hands,
Really?
kissing in public.
yeah, there's definitely-
places where you feel not comfortable doing it.
Not comfortable because you're wary of objectification or aggression?
Objectification and not so much aggression. Like I think it's just the stares. the
A shake of the head.
you know,
A shake of the head.
it
like
just depends where you
whispering.
Oh my
It just
God.
depends.
And to be fair, you know, a lot of the time that can come through religion, that people look at you that way, and I'm not here to change that. I think that, you know, you can have your beliefs. Look,
That's very generous of you, Hayley. I would
it's-
say that once your beliefs incur on someone else's right to love who they want to love, that is not okay.
I mean, when you bring a child into that, then it's even worse. Like we've received.
It's almost like I'm tired of fighting battles. Like I'm tired of trying to – it's not that I won't stop fighting them. I will do my best. But there's days where I go, you know what, I'm here to enjoy the day with my family. And if you're going to shake your head and look at me like that, I'm just going to ignore it rather than address the situation and be like, can you not? Or try
I feel so naive that I'm shocked by that.
I love holding your hand. I love walking around, holding your hand, putting my arm around you, giving you a kiss. Like it's so normal in a loving relationship to be
course.
able to do that.
Yeah.
But to be certain places in Sydney and feel like you can't do that without potentially, you know, especially if people are out drinking, like I get a bit nervous doing it because you probably get like a drunken someone coming up saying something like it's just – it shouldn't be that way. But
I'm so sorry that it is that way. When did you discuss babies? On that first date?
I think
probably on the first
I
date.
think it probably was, yeah.
I feel like it was.
Yeah, I feel like we basically covered everything on that first date.
I actually think I was honest with you and said, hey, I just need you to know, because I was like on this trajectory and I was like, this is sort of my plan for the next 6 months and it's kind of happening. So we can just see how this goes. And you kind of didn't really respond and it wasn't – we just kept hanging out and it wasn't till a few dates later that you were like, well, maybe we should get the same health insurance.
It's so romantic. It's so romantic.
Typical third date conversation.
I mean, I think just because it was just – I actually think it's because I'd been at work and I was working at Channel 9 at the time. There was some sort
You're a
of –
sports reporter, right?
Yeah, I was. But I throughout the – you know, you hear segments and things on IVF and I came across, you know, a segment and they were saying how hard you've got to wait like 12 months on health fund to be covered. And anyway, I literally just went home and I was like, we need to get on the same health fund if this is going to be something.
That is actually like, yeah, you certainly weren't doubting her commitment.
Well, I mean,
this
yeah,
point.
that's not committed. I don't know what it is. It's basically a marriage proposal. Like
But then after that initial, like me saying that to her, I then, as the relationship continued, I really pulled back on instigating anything to do with us starting a family, because in my head I was like, I don't want to feel like I'm forcing this upon Hayley. And it was actually Hayley that made every phone call. She actually put us on a donor list. You made every booking, every consult, you were the one pushing ahead with that. I was like, I'm just going to kind of take a back seat because I didn't want to feel like because it was early. It was like it's early on, but when you know, you know.
To me, it was just logical. You know, everything, I knew the process took time. I knew that, you know, had to wait 12 months on this. I was just like, I know it seems, you know, really forward, but I was like, you know, it just makes sense. Let's just get on a joint health fund. At least then when we do start this process, we've got the cover.
Had you thought about it before you met Fee?
I knew I wanted kids. I definitely knew I wanted kids. And from the moment I met Fee, I didn't care when that was. I knew that this was forever, and if she wanted kids that day, if we could make it happen, I would have done it. You know, I just knew that we were going to be together forever.
When did you know that? Like, sitting here with you both, you've got unspeakable chemistry. When did you both know?
I'm sweating.
I feel like I'm intruding being in here, even asking you questions. I'll leave in a minute. But when did you both know?
I would say that first date.
Yeah.
There was like, she walked in and just like, you are just the person that I just knew, like, you have this beautiful, the kindest soul. And I'm like, I want to spend the rest of my life with this girl. Honestly.
No, I think it was the first day. I remember walking, I mean, I came in looking like a drowned rat because I'd run late and run around in the rain and it didn't look my best. But I remember walking down the stairs.
She looked beautiful.
Thank you, honey. It's very kind. I remember walking down the stairs and going, like, having this, like, pep talk with myself because there's these stairs going down to Palmer and Cone. I was like, you're about to go on this date with this 10 out of 10. Like, you need to really just pull yourself together and be normal. Like, just don't don't be nervous. And I will never forget, I walked in the room and I just turned and looked at Fiona and I was like, holy shit. Like, she is stunning. And there was just this glow about you, and I like, no one else in the room mattered. And you stood up, we, introduced each other, and I think the rest of the night, apart from obviously a little bit of distractions here and there from external parties, but we just didn't shut up. We just talked, and I slowly made my way around the table to the other side of the bench and ended up sitting next to her. And
I was pretty impressed by that. Like as the
Even I was
night
impressed
wore
with
on,
that.
like her chair kept getting closer and closer. And then by the end, she just came and sat next to me, and I was like,
I just wanted to be near you. I was just like, it was
pretty amazing. It was a pretty amazing first date.
And the rest of the night, it was amazing. I remember we got back to yours and we were dancing around the room like to Robin and just having an absolute ball together. Like, I honestly felt like I'd known Fee forever.
Yeah.
And every day is, a new adventure, and the
Like
love
we
is
always
just
say to each
stronger.
other, it's like, I just love doing life with you. Like, it's just the best.
Yeah.
It's just like,
To find someone that is that perfect, like, I just didn't think this kind of love.
Like,
She's
we're both
not a good texter, though.
we're both, the thing is, we're both
she's not.
absolutely batty. Like, behind
Yeah.
closed doors, like, we are
Mad
the
as-
biggest
mad.
dorks.
Absolutely mad.
Like-
Which is good. I think
Yeah.
you just got to
You gotta
find
be weird.
your mad, crazy
Yeah.
match.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The decision to go Insta official, was that a big one?
I mean, for me, I left that up to Fee. I think for me, people knew I was,
I don't think it was like an issue for me that like second time. I was just like, I think it was probably quite quick. I don't actually remember doing it, so it was sort of a bit of a
Actually,
blip.
I think because we had a couple of photos on Facebook, and I think the photo of us on New Year's got
kissing.
and
Someone
sent
stole it.
that to Daily Mail.
Yeah, someone got on my private Facebook and
It was a matter, like, honestly, we felt like it was a matter of time before someone sent that in. So,
Did anything change after you were official?
no, not really.
I mean, we got papped, but
More pap attention.
Yeah.
more pap attention. But thankfully, that's sort of faded now. And apart from when we had Hunter, and we had a couple of paps stalk us a little bit, but that was
Yeah, a pap arrived at your parents' house when like a couple of days after he was born, and you were trying to install the baby seat and really battling.
And
And
it's like of all the times,
I'd just
been
given
back-
easy.
I'd just given him a
not
breastfeed.
glamorous.
No, like
Not
that
good
is
angles.
Not good angles. Like there was all of the angles, and they probably got the worst. Like,
And I came out because I'd just given him a breastfeed, and it's
like,
got days after birth, and you're just like a hot mess.
What a
Like,
great day on the job, Paps. Well
Yeah,
done. You've
well
done
done.
great
It's like-
work today.
they find the best.
How soon after you met were you pregnant?
Interesting.
Well, 2 years maybe.
Yeah.
Probably about 2 years because it'd be
We're coming up.
Did it take a while?
Yeah. Because we had to wait for the donor list and for us
That's
to
a
come.
9-month wait.
So that was a 9-month wait, and then
Is it easy to get sperm?
No,
No,
and
that
there
is-
is
and it's
no
even worse
sperm.
now.
There is. We've got friends who are on donor. They've come to the top of the list, and there's two donors
In Australia.
in New South Wales.
They don't. There's not that those options were international because they've got no sperm in Australia. This is
So shout
Where's
out-
all the sperm, guys? Where is it?
It's so much is being wasted daily in boys'
So
showers. Like,
much.
I just think
It's actually like it's a thing. There's
Is
a
that
sperm shortage.
because now you are legally obliged to have your identity revealed to any potential babies?
I actually
when-
think it's COVID because people couldn't get to the clinics to donate. So
Yeah.
I actually
Surely
And also-
Uber could have got involved and helped out with that.
Excuse me, can
And
you take my
also-
freezer pack?
And also, there's no people don't get paid for it in Australia, which
Yeah.
And your identity is disclosed to the
At 18.
child when they're 18,
Correct, yeah.
and not everybody wants that,
yeah.
right?
So
So you eventually got your sperms.
Yep.
Yeah.
And was it ever a consideration who would carry the baby?
well, we both want to carry, and I'm a lot older than a bit older than you.
Bit, not much. 7
How
years.
old are you?
I'm what am I? 38.
38 and you're 31.
31. Yeah.
So it was just a no-brainer that I was going to go first. And
Did it work on the first go?
No, we did a couple of
IUIs.
We actually had a known donor prior to getting our other sperm, but we had a few cracks at home.
Turkey baster.
Turkey basting, which was
Never again.
hilarious.
Was it tricky?
Oh, just the most awkward.
Very awkward,
Oh,
yes,
so
I imagine.
embarrassing.
It's probably the most awkward situation you could be.
I would
And,
say
like,
it's probably the most awkward time
of my life.
Yeah, like we were like
And
buying.
he's a legend. Like he turned up, was like, "Yep, no worries."
Ready to
brought
go.
His dog.
We were like
dog
out
was sitting on
buying
the
paraphernalia.
couch.
I'm like, do we buy porn? Like, what do we do? Like, what?
I was like,
cups.
he's got an
we've
iPhone. Like, come on.
squirty things.
Good point.
Yeah, I know. I was like, come on. But and I didn't even tell my housemate who was in the kitchen. He was cooking a stir fry. Like,
I'm in the bedroom, my legs in the air.
It was
It
a scene.
It was such a scene. And I think we tried that twice and we're just like, I was like, I just can't do this anymore.
I don't even, honestly, I think one of the attempts we didn't even get the sample in you correctly. Like, I'm pretty sure it just went everywhere else. But
it was a
Got to get it in the right hole.
yeah, I know, yeah.
It works better that way.
The wrong one. Oh, dear. No, it was the first, that didn't work.
And then I did a couple of IUIs, which if people out there that don't know is basically
turkey basting, but paid for.
Pay for it. They just inject sperm into you and hope for the best. But that didn't work. And so then we just rolled straight into IVF. And I had each cycle of IVF, I only ever got one viable embryo. Like I only got 5 eggs and then 4 eggs, and only one embryo survived. So first try, that embryo didn't take, and then I did another full cycle. And, you know, I came out of only getting another 4 eggs and cried. And my sister actually went through 10 rounds of IVF to get her 2 babies.
Brutal.
And she said, I was crying, I'm like, I only got, 4 eggs. What am I going to do? And she's like, Fee, it's all about quality, not quantity. And she's like, just calm down. And look, we now have our beautiful son from that one little embryo.
He's a little bit cute.
He's a dumpling.
I've heard your incredible birth story on our podcast, The Delivery Room, which I enjoyed immensely, and people put a link to that in the show notes. But tell me how becoming mothers has changed the dynamic of your beautiful, romantic, sexy relationship.
I mean, instead of wearing sexy G-strings, she wears nana knickers now. No, I'm kidding.
Try harder, Fee.
Come
Oh
on.
my gosh. Look, I'll get back there, dear.
I
just
know you
need,
will.
Like,
It's all
the
good.
bits aren't as tight as they used to be. Goodness gracious. No, look, we still try. It's it's tough having a baby, but we do still try and occasionally have like date night and try and make time for us as a couple, because I feel like that's really important. Because we even noticed with our dog, like she used to come in for morning cuddles and she was our baby.
Oh no!
And now
she's a dog.
Oh yeah.
Like she comes to us at nighttime once Hunter's asleep and is just so needy and just wants love. And I'm like, wow, there's just it's crazy. We're both working, we're both mums. Like it's a lot. So
I wanted to ask about gender roles, or not gender roles, but division of labour, and how you guys have navigated that, and also Hayley, how you feel as the non-biological parent.
Yeah, so to the question about being the non-biological parent, it initially was actually something that I struggled with more than I expected, because the first question we got, when people were with us and they'd be like, Hunter, and meet Hunter and things like that, and they'd be like, oh, does he look like the dad? And I'm like, that really was hard, because I was like, it's not the dad for starters, it's the donor. And I was like, sure, he's obviously going to have qualities and features of the donor, but the question alone has completely now removed me from the situation. It feels like I've just been removed I'm just some outsider looking in. So that was, and the way that I addressed that was by having educational conversations with the people that would ask that question. Because first up, it was a shock. And then I was like, okay, to try and help people understand that that's not quite a question you ask, is just by saying, that question doesn't sit well with me. If you want to ask, do you think he has a few features from the donor? I'd be like, yeah, sure, because the terminology donor, that makes me feel more comfortable with this situation. But yeah, it was hard. And
did people ask who his real mum was?
Yeah, we get that a lot. So
how do you manage that? Because I imagine that is deeply hurtful to both of you.
It is. It definitely hurts. I think it's just about educating people and saying, that's not quite it's again not a question you should ask. It is just, we are the two mums. Obviously, Fee carried. We've been open that, Fee carried, it was her egg. We're open about that. But the question of who his biological mum shouldn't matter. At the end of the day, we both love him as our own. Like, I'm his mum, Fee's his mum. We love him the same. So I don't ask, I don't ask heterosexual couples, was it your egg that you used, or did you have a surrogate, or did you like all those?
Was your baby adopted?
Yeah, was your baby adopted?
Are you the real mum?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating, but again, it's just about educating people. I think every step that we take forward has to be about educating people to understand, to do better, to ask the right questions, and just to think twice before you ask a question. Is this going to offend that person in any way? So, it was hard, but it was a journey that I went on, and Fee was supportive, and you were great. You reassured me that, don't ever think you are not his mum. You are his mum.
Yeah, 100%. I absolutely just love being mums with you because I feel so supported. You spoke about gender roles. Like, obviously, in my mum's group, we're the only same-sex couple, and like a lot of the mums, their experience is completely different to mine. Like Hayley, the whole way through, she was up. We tag team. We parent together. Like, you know, if I was breastfeeding, she would then take him and, burp him, and I had to like pump. I had to do all this extra stuff. So it was quite a process for the first couple of months. Like, it was a lot, and she was there every step of the way. Like, she didn't go and like leave me and go sleep in another room, which some of the mums have experienced, which I feel like
I think families do what works.
Yeah,
for them.
of course. Look,
And to be fair, some dads are that, but it's like
if she had a big day at work or something on, 100% like go, you sleep. But if I
never did though. I never wanted to not help. I just think like it's easier to work as a team. Like, you actually it's going to be harder because if Fee does it on her own, she's going to be more exhausted the next day. So if you do it as a team, you're sharing the load. You're less tired. Yeah, it's just I don't know. We work really well as a team, so far so good. We're loving it. We, of course, parenting changes your life a little. You obviously can't go out and have margaritas every second night of the week. Or
sometimes you can do it from home.
Thankfully, takeaway margaritas are a thing now, so that certainly helped.
So helpful.
Yeah.
It's a really good thing for parents.
Yeah.
Plans for next baby?
They've begun. So we actually recently...
God, give yourself a minute.
I know.
He's not even crawling yet.
I know. I think I just wanted to... I guess for me, you just don't know what your biological clock is doing. So I just wanted to make sure that we could... Because we've only got a limited number of vials of sperm left. So
from the same donor.
From the same donor. So the plan is that you'll go next with the same donor.
Correct.
So they will be half siblings.
Yes, correct.
And then potentially, who knows, depending on... how good of a
he is. He's out. I have to say, he's outside the studio. We haven't heard a peep. I'm like, are you sure you don't want him in there? And you guys are like, no, he's fine. He'll be with anyone.
Like, he's such a good baby.
He's the worst contraception ever. Actually,
I'm like, if we had,
he's like, let's have 10.
Yeah, like 99.9% of the time he sleeps through the night. Has been doing since he was 4 months.
Would you consider getting pregnant together?
Oh,
at the same time. I don't know why I'm even suggesting it.
I kind of said that, but Hayley
like to experience, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Fee did suggest it. And I just thought, for the sake of our sanity, I think, and I just thought, the hormones you get put on through the treatment,
it makes you crazy. I went crazy.
It makes you pretty loopy.
So you'll be IVF next.
Yes, yeah. So we actually,
and then you might go again.
Maybe,
yeah.
And then you might go again, Hayley.
You know what?
And then you might go again, Fee.
Well, look, if they all turn out like Hunter, I was like, we've just bought a new house with some like a few more bedrooms.
God, I'll take one. You make good babies.
I did a cycle. We've got 5 embryos in the freezer. Thankfully, I was very, very lucky. So
there's when you're in a same-sex relationship, there's no such thing as an accidental pregnancy, is there?
No,
which is so ironic when you think of the people that you were talking about who shake their head at you, like. How many people just accidentally have babies that they don't want or they can't take care of, or they haven't really thought through?
Yeah. Like honestly, when we were first going through my rounds of IVF, it really bothered me how like clinical it was, and just that we were creating a baby, but it was just, I don't know, it just felt so clinical, and you just want it to be like through beautiful, loving, but then as well on the flip side of that. Well, we have to be so grateful to science that we're even we can do this and create our beautiful family.
Absolutely.
Well, you've done good work, both of you.
I think we've done okay.
Will now excuse myself and leave you both alone for some quiet time in the pod studio, because as new mums, You must not have a lot of alone time. We've got nice mood lighting in here.
Oh,
you can
God.
just have a conversation.
I'm like, we might just have a nap.
That's what I mean. Don't get me wrong. Have a nap. Have a chat. Look at your phones for a while. That's all I'm suggesting.
We would just have it up. No, to be honest, we're very lucky. He's a great kid. He's been an amazing little one for us. And who knows?
Congratulations. I can't wait to see him become a big brother.
Yeah, be exciting.
Thank you for listening to this No Filter. It was so funny having that little baby sitting outside the door. Gosh, he was a happy little baby. I never had a baby like that. I came out and he was just, in someone's arms, happily chortling away. Not a concern in the world. Just, they're such a gorgeous family. You can find a link to Fiona and Hayley's Instagrams in the show notes. And if you're feeling overwhelmed by the 24/7 news cycle, as many people are after a really rough couple of years, we have a podcast called The Quickie. And it's a news podcast that brings you up to speed every day, covering the latest news headlines in 5 minutes, plus a deep dive to find out everything you need to know in one go. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts. The assistant producer of No Filter is Lucy Neville. The executive producer is Eliza Ratliff. I'm Mia Friedman, and I'll see you on the Mamamia app. And just by reading or listening to our content, just by listening to this podcast today, you are helping to fund girls in schools in some of the most disadvantaged countries in the world. Through our partnership with Room to Read, we're currently sending 300 girls to school every single day, and our aim is to get to 1,000 and then 10,000. Because at Mamamia, our core purpose is to make the world a better place for women and girls.
Mamamia acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this podcast on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.